What is it the children say? Everything happens so much. Greetings and felicitations, assorted children of the internet. I am the Logician, and, you may have noticed we're running a bit late tonight. Well, without going into explicit detail, there were a lot of elements of tonight's stream that were very much up in the air. Everything's a bit chaotic right now, as you can probably tell from whatever neck of the woods you are watching from, so yes, a lot was, up to interpretation and happened chance for tonight's stream. And so, because of all of that, all the extraneous variables that went into what is and is not currently happening, I've decided to take advantage of this chaos and mold it into controlled chaos, as it were. Tonight we're going to be kicking stream off with something I've been wanting to do for quite some time, but never really had the perfect segue or even opportunity to get into. And that, my friends, is a philosophy lecture! That's right, I'm actually going to live up to my namesake and kick tonight off with a lecture on one of my personal favorite academic subjects, and that is the philosophy of mind. That is to say, any and all philosophy having to do with sensation, perception, sentience, all that good stuff. Because listen, if I'm going to spread awareness and promote individual thought with my platform, I might as well have an actual kickoff point for that. You go with the flow for your philosophy, that is absolutely valid. There is really no invalid philosophy to go by, with, obvious exceptions when it comes to matters of... Anyway, I'm getting off track already, which is hilarious considering this is supposed to be a philosophy lecture. But I digress. We're going to be discussing one of my favorite subjects within the field of the philosophy of mind. And I realize that many of you out there are actually visual learners. And so I figured, hey, why not have an actual subject for study to go hand in hand with this particular subject for tonight? And I figured, hey, I'm streaming. I technically count as a VTuber. So what better visual model to base my presentation off of than Iron Mouse. Hear me out, I actually have a point to all this. So strap in, break out your favorite snacks, because believe me, this is going to get a lot more in-depth than you may be thinking. Now, most of us here are at least vaguely familiar with Iron Mouse as a concept. And I think we can, by and large, pretty much agree that one of Mouse's most notable features is her color scheme, which, as you can plainly see, is predominantly pink. Or magenta, depending on how you look at it, which, honestly, in and of itself is kind of hilarious, but I'll get into that later. Semantics aside, with the exception of those of you afflicted with, certain types of color blindness, I think it's relatively safe to say that a lot of us can more or less agree that, this color scheme here, at least the predominant color present, would qualify as pink. Are we all in agreement on this? Can we more or less agree that Iron Mouse here is predominantly pink in hue? Is it pink? Well, that's why I'm asking, Alex. So we have one vote for yes. Yes, alright, so Violet says pink. Fuchsia is an option here. Okay, so by and large, the majority seems to be pointing towards pink. Okay. Why? Why are we all in agreement that what we are seeing here is in fact pink? Well, that would be because pink, rosa, momoiro, wardia, bangdarag, and an abundance of additional nomenclature from around the globe are all words that we have been taught from an early age onward to identify and describe anything reflecting this particular frequency of visible light. Now, that's all well and good, but how do we know that the pink you're seeing, the pink I am seeing, and even the pink that Iron Mouse is seeing are all the same color? That it looks exactly the same between all of us? Well, that's the neat part. We don't. And can't. Because sensation and perception as senses, as cognitive experiences, are very individualized. Like how different kinds of food or music can taste or sound good or bad depending on the person. And even then, those individual interpretations can actually change over time. Thus, it's theorized that each individual person may see, feel, or generally experience the observable world a little bit differently. Like, let's say you're walking along and you find a brick. That boy howdy, that sure is a red and square brick that I'm seeing. Let me just pick it up, run my fingers along the edges. Oh, it feels rough. But what exactly, rough equates to outside of the strictly linguistic definition ultimately comes down to something strictly tactile that is otherwise, well, you can't really put it into words, can you? Are you with me so far? I know this is getting a bit existential, but that is in fact the point. Again, just want to make sure that everyone is following along thus far. Your silence speaks volumes. Wonderful. I tease, obviously, but I just want to make sure that, the basic concept of what I'm trying to get across is, sinking in. You think so? Thank you very much. I woke up from a nap half hour ago. I'm lucky I can follow along with myself. You are extremely valid, Silver. Anyway, moving brusquely right along. Now, all of these speculative discrepancies I've mentioned in what most would consider to be a shared and supposedly, universal experience, this all comes down to, a very specific term in both philosophy and psychology. As I mentioned before, very common within the philosophy of mind. And that term is generally known as qualia. Basically the whole, what I'm seeing may not necessarily align with what you're seeing, but we both have words to describe the thing we're seeing, etc., etc. And this concept has been supported by centuries of empirical evidence. For example, we're only able to see as many colors as we do because of 3 types of photoreceptor cells in the retinas of our eyes known as cones. Each specifically tailored to registering primarily red, blue, and green wavelengths of visible light. And the occipital lobes in our brain, which is basically the part of the brain that's at the very back, basically if you reach to the back of your head, tap at the back of your skull, that's basically where your occipital lobe is. That takes the sensory information taken in from your eyes and processes it such that we can observe all those primary colors I listed and all the ones in between, and thus we get the visible light spectrum. Because you will notice here that the main concentrations, the extremes in the visible light spectrum, are primarily concentrated around red, blue, and green. And I'm glad you actually brought up the mantis shrimp, Silver, because that was going to be something I brought up next. Because the mantis shrimp actually has 16 different types of cones in its eyes, in stark contrast with our measly 3. Meaning that Technicolor terror of the undertow sees the world through an entirely alien color spectrum, one that is, in the most literal sense, completely unfathomable to us. Now, this is already pretty weird, right? Everything I've mentioned here, just the sort of speculative differences in how we interpret the world and everything in it, and how different species might see it entirely differently because of the limitations or advancements in their sensory organs, all that good stuff. It's already pretty trippy, right? Can the mantis shrimp see colors that humans can't? That's actually a very good question, Violet, and I am glad that you brought that up. Because the mantis shrimp actually has a great deal of difficulty seeing the colors that human can see. Because those photoreceptor cells, those cones, are in fact so different from our own. And so we can see colors that the mantis shrimp cannot. But the main thing to keep in mind is that the mantis shrimp still has us beat on the sheer number of, well, colors and color spectrum that can be seen. But yes, raise a valid point in that we do have the sort of advantage of seeing colors that the mantis shrimp cannot, which might express or explain its fashion sense. Anyway, all this is already fairly trippy, right? This is where things start to get even trippier. Because remember earlier when I mentioned that Iron Mouse could potentially be seen as, rather than pink, magenta colored? The reason that is so inherently hilarious to me is that the color magenta doesn't exist. Take another look at the visible light spectrum here. And now look back at magenta. Magenta is not actually included in the visible light spectrum. It's sort of a placeholder color that our brains kind of made up to fill in the gaps of sensory information. To put it differently, for anyone here who has ever played Garry's Mod, for example, you know those panels of like black and magenta colors where there's a missing texture? Magenta is essentially that. It's sort of information that our brains made up to sort of fill in the gaps of sensory information that doesn't really quite align, given the limitations of our eyes and our cones and just our ability to experience the outside world. That's just it. It's not even a matter of like, well, it is a matter of mixing colors, but the color in and of itself is something that our brains sort of synthesized. Because the actual reflective light that makes up what we interpret as magenta isn't in the visible spectrum of light that our eyes are capable of seeing. If that makes any sense. It's an imaginary color, is what I'm getting at. Can't believe it. It's a new color. It's called magenta. It is very... It is macabrely hilarious, Violet. I do agree. So, yeah. The long and short of all of this that I have said so far is that there is a non-0% chance that your brain is gaslighting you into believing that we all live in the exact same version of the world as we know it. So, have fun with that. Now, I can understand feeling a bit overwhelmed by this concept. You would not be the first people to feel overwhelmed by it. In fact, I encourage all of you, not to give you homework right out the gate, to look into the arguments for and against qualia, against various existentialist concepts like eliminative materialism, which we'll get into for another stream, I assure you, and even the mere existence of magenta. You know, I didn't expect that bit of trivia, Silver, but I am not against it. But yeah, like I said, this can all feel very overwhelming. Would not blame any of you for being overwhelmed, just generally speaking. But what does all of this really mean? Well, the way I see it, there are a number of takeaways that you can essentially conclude from all this information. Takeaway number 1 is that you can live out the rest of your days in a perpetual state of paralyzing fear of the unknown, cursed with the knowledge that you may very well have always lived in the mouth of madness, surrounded by existential horrors the likes of which you could not possibly fathom. You know, like Yarnum, only more vibrant and colorful than an anime on an acid trip. Or option B, the next time you're feeling down on yourself for not feeling special or interesting, just keep in mind that because of everything I have mentioned here, the ways in which you are experiencing this late-stage capitalist hellscape of a world are potentially so fundamentally different and unique and special from those of any other living person that you might as well be the main character in your own story. You are, in fact, monarch of all that you survey. The world and everything in it are merely products of cognition, and life as we know it has no meaning save for that which life bestows upon itself. Own it. Take advantage of the parameters of life as you know it, so that you can bring into being the life you've always wanted for yourself, and for the people you want to share that world with. Or, you know, if you're anything like me, constantly teetering on the edge of your umpteenth mental breakdown due to constantly being revealed the cracks in the veneer of space-time, there's always the third option. Hold your head up high and proudly exclaim, "No, it's reality that's wrong," from the safety and security of an internet connection, and then proceed to dunk on everything civilization holds dear with facts and logic. I mean, it worked for me. I turned out just fine. Anyway, that is, in fact, my TED Talk for this stream. So, thoughts, questions, anything to that effect? I still do want to try and fine-tune this format of presentation for future streams. Again, probably not what any of you were expecting, but let's be honest, I wasn't expecting much of any of what happened today, so might as well share that experience with you. The word cognition triggered your Persona 5 PST, or PDST. Jesus fucking Christ. Ah, my word. You're most assuredly welcome, Violet. And once again, I do heavily, heavily encourage all of you to look into this concept and just so many different ways in which we could potentially all see the world a bit differently, even down to the actual origins of consciousness and cognition. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to pull out some books for some recommended reading. Shelf right here. So, first and foremost, we have Reaching Down the Rabbit Hole. A renowned neurologist explains the mystery of and drama of brain disease by Dr. Alan H. Roper and Brian David Burrell. Fascinating, fascinating read. Basically just goes into various cases in neurology, detailing people's struggles with cognitive breakdown. It's obviously names changed for the protection of those involved, but still a fascinating read. The fact that people perceive things different is just something we have to accept. That is definitely one way to look at it. And honestly, I think that's the best way to look at it if you're simply looking to accept that your world is wholly unique from that of anyone else's. And I will say, as to whether or not it matters, pro player, I think it at least matters in the sense that it helps you stop and consider how these subtle differences can contribute to different people's overall takeaways when it comes to existentialist philosophy, various topics regarding human rights and just rights in general. The right to life, the right to happiness. Which reminds me, for my next piece of recommended reading, not because I think it's accurate, but because I think it's just kind of hilarious in a weird existentialist way, is a book by Julian Jaynes, known as, and bear with me, this is a mouthful, The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. Now, spoiler alert, this is basically one big cherry-picked study looking into the hypothetical idea that consciousness as we know it has only been around for about 2,000 years or so, and it only really popped up because the voices in our heads we interpreted as God stopped talking to us. And again, like, in the beginning of the book, Julian Jaynes straight up admits to, like, picking and choosing which pieces of data to use for his study, which means that his findings are completely null and void. But it's still an interesting book to read, if for no other reason than to simply say, oh, you know, that would be an interesting concept, or even just the idea for a sci-fi series. What makes you think I actually read books? You know, it's in the name, Pasea, Goblin. Never would I dare make that dire an assumption. Consciousness is the worst thing that has happened to people, and the best. You are not wrong, pro player. You are most assuredly not wrong. And finally, if I can even find it... It was something along the lines of, oh, you know what? I have the internet. The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. And Other Clinical Tales. Which was put together by Oliver Sacks. Which, once again, details various case studies of people dealing with different severities of dementia, memory loss, all that good stuff. And again, names all changed for the protection of those involved. I'm gonna lurk for a bit. If you need me to mod things, you might need to say your name aloud. That is entirely valid, Silver. Once again, it's been a hell of a year. What's that? It's only February? Oh, okay. But, yes, I digress. I would like to do more of these types of segments for future streams. But I think that has been enough waxing philosophical for the time being. And so we might as well get into the Fa-Fa Honeys. Jesus fucking Christ on the cracker, I'm already losing it. And this next part of the stream probably is not going to help much. So... What? What are you guys looking at? I don't get it. Is there something on my face? Ah, you know what? I'm trying a new makeup routine. Let me just, there we go. Alright. Oh no, it's something far worse, Pusea. And, we're gonna get into that right here, right now. So, for the uninitiated, recently I have been reacting to an old series known as Masked Rider, which is basically the Saban company taking a bunch of Japanese footage from a Japanese superhero series called Kamen Rider, which literally translates to Masked Rider conveniently, and then shooting a bunch of new footage with American actors, recycled sets, and just the worst decisions. Literally all of the worst decisions. And calling it a brand new show. That's how we got Power Rangers. Hey! GaelicNox has joined us. So here is a question, GaelicNox. I imagine you have had a day. Would you like to simply join us in the chat for this stream, or would you like to join me for the reaction proper? You are down to join? Excellent, excellent. So let me just go ahead, prepare a couple of things on my end. And, let me see. Just give me a moment. All right. So, surprise co-host for this stream. Hey, gamer.
Dun dun dun.
GaelicNox, guys, gals, and non-binary pals.
Hello.
I am so fucking sorry.
What? Excuse you? Who are you apologizing to?
I am so sorry that you have had the day you've had.
Oh no, it was actually a really good day.
Fair enough.
I made my stall became the autism hub of the market, which was great.
You know? We should all aspire to be so lucky.
I even got to see this one high support needs autistic dude called Taz, who I met at last year's medieval market. He was so sweet. He like came up, he's like, "I bet you don't remember me." I was like, "I do, Taz," and he got so excited.
So Violet says, I don't know if this is something you'd be interested in, but if you did a stream where people could draw on a shared drawing site called Whiteboard or Magma, completely fine. Honestly, I would not object to it, Violet.
I mean, if you could get it like up now, I'll doodle while we watch stuff.
Yes.
Because that's all I was going to do anyway.
Look, my favorite person. Thanks. Thanks,
Oh, Pusea, that's adorable. What the hell?
Yes, alright, you're going to space jail. While I go ahead and prep up a means by which we can both suffer.
I see that Silver has also said it.
Yes.
Thank you, Silver. I feel popular.
Yes. You say you feel popular.
I need to watch that movie.
As do I. And, behold, you exist.
I do?
Yes. At least on my stream. We all need that little reminder every now and then.
Gasp. Oh, thank you, honey.
Alright, so
My brain did a bad.
Oh, dare I ask?
Well, I've just noticed that on your stream tabs it has psychology. Now, is that because you're going, like, you're talking about psychology? Is it because you do psychology type things, or is it because of the mental strain?
Yes. See, that's actually better than where I thought that was going, because you said, now I see you mentioned psychology. Is that because you give head?
It could also be because you regularly stream with mentally ill people, but anyway.
I mean, myself included, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my word. Okay, so now we go ahead and set things up on my end. Ba-ba-ba-da, ba-da-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba.
Oh, excellent. The watch together thingy.
Yes.
I forget that you've got that.
For just such an occasion where I need to torture as many people in my friend groups as possible.
Oh, it didn't let me add my name. Can I rename myself? User. Edit. Here we go.
There we are. Alright, so let me bring us over here. Oh, looks like need to phase you back into reality again. Funny how that works out.
Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity.
Yep. Common Rider is a psychological... Yes, it is. Specifically Masked Rider.
You know, it's the issue being part ghost, technically, is staying corporeal is such a hassle.
Yeah. Now, believe you me, you're gonna wish you had never gone incorporeal after this. Hello, Cloudy.
What? Why is your name on this share thing Pain?
Don't worry about it.
I'm judging you.
Even to contextualize, so were you here when I began explaining what Masked Rider is?
No. No. I am you know in certain like anime and like cartoons and that they have like the character that doesn't know anything, so the cast has to explain what's already happened so that the character yeah, I'm that bitch.
Excellent, excellent. So, so you're familiar with the tokusatsu genre, right? Things like
Yeah.
Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, Ultraman, all those things.
Yeah.
Are you aware of how Power Rangers came to be?
I feel like you've explained it to me before, but I am a little dumb, so I'm gonna have to ask you to explain it again.
You're perfectly valid. So the long and short of it is that companies like Saban and Deke decided, hey, we're going to pay for the license for this Japanese show, take all the fight scenes from it, maybe rent out some of the costumes that were used in the Japanese show. Then we're going to recycle a bunch of sets and locations and film new scenes with American actors and write an entirely different script and premise that'll cater more to the sensibilities of American audiences. And by American audiences, I mean children hopped up on sugary breakfast cereals and call it a completely different show.
You know?
That is how we got the Power Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which were, in fact, technically, I believe, the 7th or so iteration of the ongoing series known as Super Sentai. I believe Zhu Ranger, if I am not mistaken. Alex can probably fact check me on this. There was another show which I showed you the first episode of called Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, which originally was known as Hyper Agent Gridman.
Huh.
Masked Rider is the worst of them all.
You say worst, but why do I feel like I'm gonna love it?
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. But like Power Rangers, it was made by Saban, where they took footage from, I want to say, Kamen Rider Black RX, if I'm not mistaken. And Kamen Rider literally does translate to Masked Rider, by the way.
Huh.
Oh yeah, I forgot tattooed teens from Beverly Hills. How could I forget, Alex? Um, and so yeah, they got new actors, a new premise, um, and among the things they added, let's see here. Among the things they added, plot-wise, quote unquote. Um, oh no, I just realized I will need to backtrack a little bit and get that particular asset, Uno Momento, for some weird visuals for a split second.
That is fair.
Let's see. I need to find where are you, because believe you me, chat, this is a crucial element to this stream and future streams like it.
Oh yeah, did you want to add my doodling to your overlay, by the way? Because I have a link to do that.
Excellent. Ah, yes, here we go.
Oh.
This is the asset I was hoping for. Don't worry about it.
Also, if you add that link as a browser source on OBS, it should do the thing. And then you can adjust to your liking.
Alright, uno momento. We're doing all sorts of experimentation with tonight's stream.
Hell yeah, we are.
Ah, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Okay, so what do we call
this? Group is full of weirdos!
Hello, Koshe! Hey! Hello, Bats! Hello, Diz! Hello, everyone! Christ on a cracker! Hello, how are you all doing? Oh, my goodness.
Shrimps are bugs, you're right, and it's fabulous. They're the best bugs.
They are. In fact, arthropods are the single most evolutionarily successful organism on the planet.
They are.
Alright, so what exactly have I added here, Emmett?
If you paste the linky thing, it should be my my thingy.
Interesting. So let me see if I can actually go ahead and apply that in a not so intrusive way. Again, all sorts of experimentation at play tonight. At work, at play, everything happens so much. Again, hence the name of this stream. Let me even... I think that'll do it for now. As shrimple as that. Yes, absolutely, Bats. Shrimplicity. My word. Also, thank you, Magna, for following. I apologize for not mentioning earlier. By the way, to any of you watching unfamiliar with any of these creatures of the night who have just graced us with our presence, I highly recommend checking out all of them. They are phenomenally talented and far funnier than I could ever hope to be. We have Bats, we have Koshe, we have Diz, we have Magna, we have Alex, of course, and once again, we have GaelicNox joining me in stream directly. If you are not following them, the fuck is wrong with you? Genuinely.
Would you like a list?
Yeah, I mean, I'm already on several, so... My word. Follow for more pictures of... Yes, absolutely. Well, you know what must be done now, Koshe. Since it has been invoked. So, Koshe is an artist among their many talents. And specifically, What they decided to do, which, mind you, I did get explicit permission for, and I do mean explicit, was a particular piece of fan art. Woe plague be upon you. Back to the tit mines you go. Yes, absolutely. Why do you find this hilarious? Because you're a goblin, Pusea.
It comes with the turf.
A little bit. Well, I mean, let's not bring turfs into this.
You know what? That's fair.
But, yes, I digress. You are all now subject to the existential horror that is Masked Rider. And before all is said and done, you will probably be regretting, getting to know me, getting to know all about me.
Nah, we have the same brand of autism.
I mean, you're not wrong. But
Except yours got you a master's degree.
I mean, once again, you're not wrong. Ah, my word. Anyway, are we all ready to delve in?
Let's do this shit.
Today, adventures of Masked Rider. Grandma dropped.
Tidy your room's up, Casey inspects.
Yeah, and I gotta make sure that my teeth, hands, and behind my ears are clean.
I know that you are not what you seem.
Meanwhile, Count Dragon sends his own visitors.
I love it when my racist relatives come over.
Who kidnapped Grandma.
Grandma!
What's this?
Is that really a bad thing, though?
Can our hero save Grandma? Find out on the adventures of Masked Rider next.
Yo, we want to save Grandma? Really?
Do we actually, though?
On a distant and embattled planet called Edenoi, a young prince named Dex is given great powers by his grandfather, the king, and is sent to the planet Earth to protect it from the advancing evil of Count Dragon and his vicious insectivoids. Once on Earth, he is adopted by a kind family and learns to live as a human. With his companion Phoebus by his side,
There he
Dex
is.
ever vigilant,
The man, the
ready
myth, the
at a
legend.
moment's notice to call on his powers to become Masked Rider.
Also, you are not wrong, Bats. This is, in fact, if Kamen Rider fell down the stairs. Also, I looked into it, and turns out you were absolutely correct, Alex. Phoebus is, in fact, played by the late Vern Troyer. Who, as some of you might know, played Mini-Me from the Austin Powers movies.
Ah.
This is his his unliving legacy.
When you get to Strathmore, take a right. Yes. Then you're going to turn on to Midvale. We're the second house on the left. Bye-bye.
Forgot to turn this on.
Who's that, Dex?
Cab driver?
That's funny. Hal didn't tell me he was ordering a cab.
The driver was asking directions for someone named Grandma. They'll be here in 2 minutes.
Grandma! I don't have time to visit with Grandma right now. I've got an Italian festival to cater. I can't believe our Grandma's actually coming over.
What's the problem? I love my grandfather.
And we love Grandma, Dad.
You might want to keep that to
It's
yourself,
just-
bud.
Well, you'll see. Tidy your room's up, Casey inspects.
Yeah, and I gotta make sure that my teeth, hands, and behind my ears are clean.
Look at this fucking clusterfuck on screen right now between our two respective creative choices here.
Mr. Stewart House?
Yes. Oh, Grandma. Oh, it's so nice to see you.
Admit it.
Am I
It's
NV
a
Shoujo
total
yet?
Surprise.
Well, no, I was just
Yes, absolutely.
Hi, Sparky.
For your health.
For your health.
A dime?
It's either that or 10 pennies. Which would you prefer?
Can I help out?
Thank you.
I love how this is somehow offensive to everyone.
Do me a favor. Next time she needs a
Yeah.
favor, tell her to take a bus.
Too many cook. Oh, abso-fucking-lutely, Bats.
Hell, you look peaked. Isn't Barbara feeding you well?
Well, you know, Grandma, I have my own catering company.
That's okay, dear. You can use my recipes for your clients, too.
I hate that we all know someone like this.
I live with someone like
I'm
this.
so
Where's
fucking
my new
sorry.
grandson, Dex? Where are the other children?
Hi, Grandma.
Your mother lets you wear those?
She's that kind of
Sure,
mother-in-law?
may not.
Absolutely, Koshe.
Times are tougher than I thought.
Jesus.
I mean, some things never change.
Not
People will
unless
still
I'm
buy
related to
jeans
her,
with holes
Albie.
put in them. I mean, I'm honestly on Team Grandma for that one.
Dex? You and I have a lot to talk about. I want to know all about you.
First of all, we need to discuss that Roman salute that everyone is blowing out of proportion. Elon Musk is simply a patriot.
Dex into a trap. First,
Jesus.
adopted brother and sister and use them as bait.
And what evil fate do you have in store for Dex?
Tell us, slime a sect. A creature that will swallow Dex in one big bite.
We're playing that again. I hope you understand that.
And use them as bait.
And what evil fate do you have in store for Dex?
Tell us, slime a sect. A creature that will swallow Dex in one big bite.
You know?
Today on You Didn't Know You Had a Vor Kink.
You know? I was going to ask if this is still Kamen Rider, and then it abruptly cut to the giant styrofoam ship floating ominously in the foreground. This is Bats. This show is to Kamen Rider Black RX what the Power Rangers was to Zhu Ranger. The quality and difference of stock footage never ceases to amaze me. Oh no, that's absolutely one of the best parts of this, Alex. It's the classic game of spot the stock footage. Because keep in mind, this show was made in the 90s, whereas I am relatively certain... Actually, no, I think the late 80s and then early 90s, depending on which Saban show we're talking about. Whereas Kamen Rider RX and Zhu Ranger, I believe, were made anywhere between the late 70s to early 80s. A slime sect. I can only assume that this is inspiring some new ideas for you, Koshe. Pardon me for assuming, but I feel like Power Rangers had more Power Rangering. Well, I mean, it's funny you mention that as well, Bats, because once we get outside of the set of the house here, keep an eye out for some familiar sights, as it were. Because as I mentioned earlier in the stream, they liked to recycle a lot of locations between Masked Rider and Power Rangers.
Be my prisoner, and I can steal his powers whenever I please.